back through the box and knocked down or caught by the Giants pitchers. I mean, nothing was going their way, and it did kind of snowball on them. And I think maybe it may be a good thing. It may snap them out of it. We may find, though, if they lose again tonight, hard to envision them going to San Francisco for 3 games and winning 2 of them to bring it home.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it was that 3rd inning. It was when I thought, okay, here come the Royals. They're going to do what they've been doing here, and now we're going to get into a game. And when they were able to stop Hosmer there and not allow them to get that big inning, that's when I said, man, that's that inning usually that gets Kansas City going. They get the spark, and they get themselves going, and then the game goes in all kinds of crazy directions for the next 5 or 6 innings after this. But no, Bumgarner was able to lock it down. I mentioned earlier, you brought up being so impressed with him. I don't know if you heard that list, but all of those aces, top guys, Wainwright, Shields, Lester, Kershaw, Jordan Zimmerman, David Price, Max Scherzer, all combined to win 1 game this entire postseason, that whole group of guys. And that is a very expensive and hefty group of starting pitchers that I just listed there. Bumgarner is definitely not one. And Bruce mentioned earlier, too, speaking of grabbing momentum, 10 of the past 11 World Series and 4 straight. Game 1 winner has gone on to win the entire thing, so that matters. But I'm kind of with you. I said it earlier today, and I talked a little bit about it yesterday. I thought San Francisco, if we're just picking the better team, I thought it was San Francisco. I thought Kansas City's going to win this thing because of the momentum. I said, man, they may not lose a game. If that's going to truly go out the window, and if we're just the best team's going to win this thing, then it's going to be San Francisco, and they're probably going to win it in no more than 6 games.
Well, I think maybe at least what happened last night will stop the word magic being associated with the Kansas City Royals and in the sports writing from here on out, unless it's to say how it went away. I think you maybe have to favor the Giants now, if for no other reason than that number you talked about with that, how crucial that first game was. Kirkjian was talking about that before the game started, how, it's easy to overstate the importance of Game 1, but in this series, because of what has gone on with the Royals' momentum, the Game 1 seemed to be a lot more weighty this year than even it is in any other year because of just the 2 teams involved and the circumstances coming into the thing. It is ironic that and we commented on this after the first round of the playoffs, Jerry, where all the aces were getting hammered and beat up. Ironic in a year when it was, a year when pitching kind of dominated and hitting was down and RBI numbers and home run numbers and everything else were down across baseball and pitching was sort of in the ascendancy. That all these guys would get slapped around in the playoffs and look like middle of the rotation guys. But you're right. Bumgarner certainly isn't in that conversation.
No, I mean, he was just amazing. I had a couple of stats for him here as you were talking. I rolled myself off of my screen. I want to roll back up. I mean, just looking at his World Series, that was it. In the World Series, his numbers, I believe it's 3-0 career in the World Series with an ERA of 0.87 for Madison Bumgarner career in the World Series. His postseason numbers are good, but then they just go to another level when you hit the Fall Classic there, man, and amazing, too. And you know what, too? You talked about how early on, as he got rolling and they spot him the lead, you figure, man, this is no good for the Royals. The first inning is his trouble spot, mostly, when teams face Bumgarner. His ERA drops in half after the first inning, and his batting average against drops over 100 points the remainder of the game. The first inning is where he has like a 6 ERA in the first inning with teams hitting like 300 against him, and then it's nothing since there. So getting him early is the secret, and obviously that didn't happen for Kansas City.
Yeah, and tonight, at least the Royals are facing a guy they're familiar with tonight, in Peavy, but they've got to be a little bit nervous about going out after with a rookie on the mound for them. Although Ventura is a bright young star and throws the ball 100 miles an hour when he feels like it, and so it'll be interesting tonight. They're going to have to come after him, and I think get after get after the opposition starter early, and get their crowd in the game, keep their crowd in the game is crucial, because obviously this is a crucial game for them.
I mean, I'll go as far as to say must win. I mean, I think you've got to. PV's strong in the playoffs, but I mean, obviously he's got some wear on the tires. That may be a place to go. Man, he's a bulldog, though, man. I talked about him earlier in the show. I've always liked Jake Peavy, man.
Oh, I know you're a Peavy guy. He's your boy.
When they traded for him, I said, man. I look at I was upset about the cost, though, because at the time he was like 1-10 or something like that. He was not having a good statistical season in the American League at all. But obviously San Francisco said, hey, we could care less. We're bringing him over to the National League. He's traditionally better here, and we want him in the playoffs. We want him to be a bulldog in the postseason, and he's definitely done that. I think his postseason ERA this year is like under 1.4. It's like a 1.3 something. He's done very well. No decisions, but he's pitched very well so far.
Yeah, it's also one of those guys that you can get to him early, and if you do, you can get him out of there. But he's another one of those guys that gets tougher as the game goes along.
He's either great,
if he survives the early innings, you could be in trouble.
Yeah, he's either great, like when he's on, and he's gonna bulldog you. I always think of a guy like that, like a guy like Hershiser. No matter what they do in the regular season, you get them in that playoff, in that October mode, and they're gonna be tough outs each and every time. He's either there, or like you said, you knock him around a bit. So if you're Kansas City, you definitely want to try to do that, take advantage of that, because like I said, must win. I don't think it's maybe we can win. No, you have to win. You got to win this one at home. Take advantage of that before you head over to the West Coast.
Yeah, I don't think it's an exaggeration to call it must win at all. I mean, if you lose tonight, you could be looking at a sweep, and in any event, it's going to be ugly for you. So after everything the Royals have been through, hopefully, like I said, this is just a splash of cold water in their face and wakes them up and makes them realize that, no, they're not going to win every game, and they're not going to go 162-0 next year either. So, get used to it, wake up and straighten up and try to get a win tonight.
Couple of things to watch for tonight. Pablo Sandoval has got the 24 straight postseason game hitting streak here, going back to the 2012 postseason. So if he gets a hit here coming up, he will match Boog Powell for the third longest streak in baseball history, most consecutive postseason games with a hit. And the other thing here, looking for breaking tradition, Kansas City looking to become we talked about 10 of the last 11, become just the third team in the last 18 years to come back from losing that first game. 15 of the last 18 have won the World Series after winning that first game 1-0. So that, to me, makes it even more must-win for Kansas City.
Yeah, okay, and since you're the stat guy, I got to ask you this, and I know you know it. Boog Powell's number 3. Who's 1 and 2? I'm sure you know that.
Oh, you know what? I don't know that. That was just one of those. Oh, see, now you got me. Okay, here we go. I'll know it in a second. But
consecutive postseason games. I'm gonna.
As the words were coming out of your mouth, I'm going, what question is he going to ask?
I guess that somebody like Brooks Robinson or somebody like that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's another one of those Orioles or you gotta think of a team obviously that played in a lot of postseason games. Maybe a Lou Gehrig.
Live radio, the insides of live radio. You just heard it right there. As the words are coming out of Dan's mouth, you're the stat guy. First off, I'm not the stat guy. I can find some interesting stats, but he's like, "You're gonna know this," and I'm going, "Well, depends what you ask. I don't know."
Yeah, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Exactly, man. And then you had to ask one that I really don't. I had Boog Powell as being tied for third, but I have no clue who the top two are.
Oh, okay. Next break or something. If you figure that out, let me know. Just curious off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'll find out for that. Thanks a lot there, Dan. No, I really appreciate being just completely put on the spot there. Being exposed as not knowing the answer to your question. Thanks, Trivia, Dan. Appreciate that.
That's like me giving a trivia question and being wrong and getting corrected by a couple.
We've had that before, that's
exactly.
Embarrassing.
That's embarrassing.
That's because Bruce is like the Rain Man of Indians trivia, man. So,
I know he is, man. Props to him. Props to Bruce.
If we get one thing wrong, Bruce is like, no, No, it was the third game of the second week of the 1947 season, and we're like, oh, man, he's right. So there you go. Anyways, let's move. Hey, did you hear any of what I was talking about earlier? I was just I went and did that research on the because you see all the garbage going on this week.
Yeah, the bad games numbers on quarterbacks. I did hear that. It was very interesting to hear that the averages of bad games per season. That's really an enlightening statistic that really puts some things in perspective and hopefully causes some Browns fans to climb back in off the window ledge.
Absolutely, and this weekend too, gonna be big. I mean, this is, you and I. We talked a little on Monday about the Jags game, but quickly, since we're mentioning the Browns here, what are you looking for this weekend, Dan? I mean, you're going to be down there along with everybody else. I mean, what do you think? Do you think seriously that this is a funk that they'll get in and stay in, or are they going to come back and take care of business? I think they do, but what do you think?
Well, I think they do also, but not so much because they're a much better team than what we saw on Sunday. It's just because they're playing another bad team. I mean, I said on Monday, you look at this and you look at them in comparison to the top teams in the AFC, whether it's the Colts or the Broncos or whatever, and everybody knows that the Browns aren't on that level in terms of just the roster, the talent, and we're still dealing with a rookie coach who really showed he was a rookie coach for the first time last week. So yep. I think we're going to beat the Raiders. I think the team would have to be embarrassed and motivated and have a little bit of a spring in their step Sunday in front of their home crowd enough to beat a bad football team. And glad to go a step further. I'd say I think they'd probably repeat that the following week against another bad football team in Tampa. It doesn't change my overall opinion, and I'm not going to start printing playoff tickets. After if they're 5-3 at the halfway point, I think it would be great to be 5-3 at the halfway point. Nobody in their right mind coming into the season expected that, or would have said that would be unacceptable. And so, if they can somehow manage a way to be 5-3 at the break, this town should be ecstatic at the progress they've shown, not at the playoff expectations or anything, because I still really, frankly, don't have playoff expectations. The last 8 games much tougher than the first 8, and but yeah, this Sunday, sure, I think they're going to beat the Raiders because I think they were smacked upside the head last week. They played lousy and coached lousy, and I think it's I think we'll see a different look this week, and the home field will certainly help.
Looking forward to it. You and I will talk about that on Monday, of course. But I thought actually it was, you guys get to hear these things come out of the ether. It was actually totally organic how that came up. We were talking about it Monday and Tuesday, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it. I want to go look and see, man, and like I said, the Browns Bible, I love it. I'm telling you guys, by the way, if you're a Browns fan and you don't have one, you're nuts. Jonathan Knight, I don't know how many years it took him to make this thing, but it is the go-to for the Browns. And I even was thumbing through that. And just in the middle, I've brought it up, in the middle of seasons. But you don't realize now, when you look back at the Cardiac Kids, when you look back at Bernie, even just looking at local teams, you forget about that, you forget that they, matter of fact, I don't want to say, because I don't have the exact game in my head, but this year Corey Kluber was excellent. Cy Young season. Didn't he have one absolute abomination in the entire run that you'll never remember and that you don't even know when it happened? But if you went and looked in the books, and I'm not saying let's just forget. My point being is that you forget in the big picture how much the minutiae changes from day to day.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody, you forget the bad stuff and then block it out mentally. And like you say, he had bad games, but sure is hard to bring them to mind or place when they were or where they were. Wanted to mention one thing to you, too. I did overhear the conversation about the punt return and the famous catch with the face mask kind of thing. My only guess on if there was any such thing as strategy on that, I mean, was that not the first time that Hoyer had been back to field a punt in the game? Had they not been using Leonard on punt returns?
I don't
to that
know
point.
about the whole game, but Leonard handles the shorter punts, the pooch punts, and then Poyer's usually back there with the longer punts. I don't remember if last weekend he had been out there, no, but I mean he's fielded